First things first, I just want to say thank you so much for supporting me. I haven't posted a video in a couple months and I feel really bad about that, but a lot of people have been really positive and subscribing and liking my videos, and that makes me pretty happy. So hopefully this week of videos will make up for it, and happy holidays. Today we are going to talk about role-playing games. However, I'm not going to teach you a single one. No, today I'm going to show you why this is one of the greatest values in all of gaming. Now you probably know what an RPG is. You know it may let you explore worlds like jumping into a storybook. You know about the damp dungeon walls that may trap you deep within the earth, or the fearsome dragons that may stand before you and your grizzled team of hardened veterans. So what do you see when you pick up one of these books for the very first time? You see graphs and tables and numbers and attack damage and different weapon types and values. You see a scribble in the margin of a one-eyed floating monstrosity that was drawn horribly. You don't see adventure, you don't see rusty swords or rolling hills or towering spires or dungeons deep. No, you see the code, you see the laws and all the rules behind what's going to make the game good. But that's all figured out already in Skyrim, and you don't have to worry about it. So how do you tell that person who has never played a role-playing game before that this is something different altogether? You take all this away. You put it out of sight, put it out of mind, do not mention it. Do not tell your players that this new rule set is easy. Don't even tell them that there is a rule set. If you want your players to be encased in the wonder of a role-playing game, you get rid of everything that takes them out of it. Tell them we're all going to play a game. Hand them a note card, ask them their name, and tell them to write it down. And when they inevitably ask you if they can be named Gaston Cherry, say of course, why not? Paper and pencil role-playing games are so easy because our imaginations are incredible at filling in bullshit we don't know or understand fully. So when you tell someone they wake up in a red room with a red bed and a red nightstand with a red pistol on it, they're going to ask you, where is the red door? And when you tell them there is a knock on that very red door, they're going to ask you, can I pick up that incredibly red pistol? This is the one secret in how you get anyone to play a role-playing game. I managed to get my brother and all of his friends who have never touched a role-playing game before this to join in on a wacky adventure through a monolithic structure under the ground. And they enjoyed it completely. So if you're going to be the leader of one of these worlds, a DM or a GM, you need one thing. You just need to trust in your imagination. So all of the examples so far have come from a game called Paranoia, and I don't have any fun props to show you because I don't actually own the game. Paranoia is a game that's set in a deep underground complex called Alpha Complex. It's run by the eye in every room, the computer. But you don't know that. At least you better not. You shouldn't. You can't if you wish to survive and flourish. You probably won't. I run a version of this game that has been passed down to me through multiple people like a maniacal version of telephone. When I finally ran the game, I'd never opened the source book once. I'd just come to understand this extremely slim set of rules that we've all played by. And at this point is when I did that one really important thing. I just trusted in my imagination. And as lame as that sounds, it's sometimes the hardest thing to do. Sometimes it's just hard to wing a session. Anyone who has run D&D knows this. Sometimes it's very hard to prepare and then just go off track when your players just don't want to go the way you're trying to push them. There's that balance between railroading and just flying out into an open world and hoping it all goes well. So I just trusted in my imagination, and I told 4 people that had never played a role-playing game in their entire lives to sit down and to just trust me. I gave them a note card. I told them to write down their name. I gave them allegiances and mutant powers, or lack thereof, and then they woke up in that painfully red room. Now previously, I had written in a few objectives or things they could solve, but other than that, we just went in blind. Now for my favorite part of the review, where I run out of spots to film in my room and just lie on the ground. I've been running Dungeons and Dragons for years over multiple editions and trying out different ways to roleplay different games. I've spent countless nights up just writing down what's going to happen in an adventure, what things they can go do, what people they can go talk to, which mountain is going to blow up, and which necromancer is going to murder them all. And yet, I don't think I have ever had a group more immersed and interested in the content, in the world that I've created, as I did that night with all those people that had never played before. I think the reason for this was that I sparked something. I left out all of the fiddly things, and I put the man back behind the curtain. The only thing that stood in their path was not their dexterity modifier, or how many spell slots they've used today. It was just the world opening up in front of them. I think what I'm trying to communicate about role-playing games is that they really are magical. And for new players especially, they will never ever correct you on a rule or tell you got something wrong. So give them nothing but the magic and let them enjoy it. Once they've been role-playing for a while, they're going to tell you they want more. And then you can pull out these endless worlds that people have created. And when you open them up, they're going to see right past all the graphs and blocks of text and sometimes terrible illustrations. And then, only then are they going to see options in this beautiful world that you guys can create together. But until then, just give them all the magic. One of the greatest parts about role-playing games is that there's really one for everyone. If you want to start at the beginning, you start with the Player's Handbook for Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. We all kind of know what this one is, even if you haven't played role-playing games. Mine's pretty gross, mainly because I bought it for 50 cents in a barn. You can hear the water-damaged pages. But this is where role-playing games came from. This book that probably is a hazard for the people around it. As we move up through the years, you get other Dungeons & Dragons Player's Handbooks, until the current and wonderful edition of Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. Over the years, you can tell they try to slimline things, even as thick as these books still are. They try and make them easier to understand, and they try and make all of the pictures a little bit better. Pretty great. But while everyone knows Dungeons & Dragons, they may not know how many other role-playing games are out there. Older ones like The Legend of the Five Rings, which was based off of a card game. Role-playing in the Emerald Empire, this Japanese-esque adventure game of samurai and katanas and stabbing people in the throat. They're games that express the beautiful physicality of role-playing games and harken back to original Dungeons & Dragons with things like the Burning Wheel, a system in a tiny little book which focuses on relationships and building ideas between your characters and building a team that can really take on anything. There are games that are built off of systems that are built off of other systems, like Torchbearer, which throws you back to original D&D but focuses on the dungeons. You have to remember to bring enough torches, because if you run out of light, you all die in the dungeon as you would in real life. And everything is horrible, but if your team can get through it, you might make a little bit of money just so you can survive another week to go into another dungeon. There's also games for people that don't want to battle in a grunging dungeon full of grizzled men. Mouse Guard is a role-playing game for people that want to play as mice. It's also based off of the Burning Wheel system, but it simplified it a little bit and added in a lot more nuances, things that really aid to your role-playing as tiny little mice in an ever-growing massive world. There are completely original ideas like Blades in the Dark, in which you create an Ocean's 11 type team and you try to break into different places and steal all their goods. But how you do this is you just fly it by the seat of your pants. If you come up to a window and you have to unlock it, you tell the GM that, oh yeah, good thing I remember to bring my lockpicks. And you have to figure out if you did remember or not. The greatest part about this game is that I thought that was it as its core. And then I figured out there's actually a whole lore behind this, behind Duskfall, which is this city at the end of the world in an almost steampunk era of London, but not London. And there's ghosts that you keep out because of an electricity wall. It's crazy. And then there's one of my favorites, which I've talked about a lot here. Tales from the Loop. It's role-playing in the 80s that never was. And this is all based off of Simon Stålenhag's art of Tales from the Loop. And all of his machines and weird contraptions that take up this world that he's created in an alternate future Sweden. A game where you're a kid and your parents aren't going to help you do anything, even when you tell them dinosaurs are running through the streets, because you're a stupid kid and they have better things to do, like go to their work parties and make sure they get dinner on time. Now, these are just some of an incredible amount of role-playing games that exist in the world, but each one has its own beauty. But you might find one that just fits perfectly for your group of friends. Try as many as you can. A lot of these release PDFs online just so you can test out their system and hopefully buy their book later. I'm clearly obsessed with bound books, so I buy them anyway, even if I haven't played them all. And like I said earlier in the video, I don't actually own the book for Paranoia XP. Mainly because it was out of print for the longest time, and they actually just brought it back. It's called Paranoia XP, and it comes in a big box. But I don't think I'm ever going to buy it, because that game has so much wonder just not knowing what's in it. And I think I'll keep it that way. That's my little bit on role-playing games. I really appreciate you guys watching. Maybe subscribe if you want to see more, and hopefully this week I'll have a lot more for you. You guys have a good one. Go play some games.